I'm Brittany from Yukon Solid Ground, and this is another installment of our DIY video series. And today we are at River Ridge Farm talking about their wash pack setup. So, Matt, do you want to introduce yourself and River Ridge and kind of let folks know what you grow and where we can find your products?
Sure. My name is Matthew Wendt, born and raised in Meriden. Now we're in Portland, Connecticut, at River Ridge Farm. Originally an orchard, converted to a nursery, and now converted back to a vegetable and flower farm. We have a farm stand in Middletown on Main Street on the north end, and then we also do 5 farmers markets a week in the summertime and sell wholesale to the Willimantic Co-op.
Can you kind of walk me through what happens when things come in from the fields? So how do you use this space?
So we have like different stations depending on what crops are coming in from the field, and then depending on what time of year, they'll either come in from this side on the front end or from the side driveway here, depending on whether they can go directly into wash tubs or directly into the cooler from the field.
Okay.
And so things like bunched root crops are coming over to the table to be sprayed and cleaned.
Okay.
Greens are going in the tubs, as well as bunches of greens and such. And then if we don't have anyone in the wash house when stuff's coming in early in the morning, we'll just put the harvest containers right in the cooler to drop that temperature down and get them staying fresh. And then we have different types of containers. So we have orange and green containers are our harvest bins.
Okay.
Sometimes we'll harvest into the black tulip crates, although those are more for final storage. We also use them to dry greens. If the greens are too wet, they have a lot of good airflow, so we'll put the greens in there in the cooler to kind of dry out some, and then finally going to the closed totes, which are great for like holding in humidity. So for root crops and those leafy greens, they're really good for longer term storage.
Now, you just came to this farm, like this location last year or 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, we're on our second season.
Okay. And so when you decided where you were going to put this setup, how did you pick this spot?
Basically it was inherited as like the only spot.
Yeah.
The gravel, and which has asphalt underneath, was already here, and it was a big open space. There was no tables, sinks, tubs. It was just kind of a nice open area. And then also, we knew our cooler space, which we built last year, was going to be going right here. There was a garage door where you can see the plywood. And so we knew like the proximity of the wash house to the cooler had to be as close as possible. And then water drainage, like it was either here or the parking lot really, which is less ideal. So kind of decided this as a location, and then kind of ad hoc put things together. Like we bought the wash tubs, which are cattle watering tubs from Tractor Supply. We inherited the stainless steel sinks and tables.
Oh, nice.
From a nice customer of ours. And then, yeah, like I said, the cooler was already going there, so it was like a nice flow of dirty stuff in to clean stuff out.
Yeah.
I think long term, there's big plans for a nice, fancy indoor-outdoor wash house space. A bit more better flow and kind of proximity of everything, and better drainage for sure.
Yeah. So right now, do you have hoses that come out to fill everything up?
Yeah. So we have 2 sources of water. One's pond water for irrigating, and then we have our house well is what we use for the wash house. Unfortunately, the house well is pretty shallow, and so we have good water storage, but basically once we've filled up the tubs, the well runs dry. So we have to be very particular about how and when we're using water, both in the house we're living in and for the general wash house. So like we're filling tubs in the morning before any washing is happening, so that the well has time to refill, and then spraying of stuff can happen in the afternoon.
Do you want to talk about the future, like what you would like to do with this space?
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to be able to like fully build the whole thing out all at once, but that's probably not that feasible, so we'll end up doing it in stages. But first priority would be getting better drainage. So a lot of water comes out of the tanks and out of the sinks all at once. and the ground underneath is asphalt right now with gravel on top, so it pools and doesn't leave the area immediately. So the first basically would be to build from the ground up, digging drainage trenches and putting tile down so that at least the water will not pool for a significant period of time.
Yeah.
And then our dream kind of is to build off from the house out. Basically in this same line, we have the wash house set up in like a straight line.
Yeah.
So it'd be to build like a long rectangular roof structure. And so my vision is to have it be kind of a post and beam. You have it be open air in the summertime, so you have the coolness of it.
Yeah.
But maybe having modular insulated walls we could like put up in the fall.
Yeah.
Because we grow all 4 seasons, and including in the winter, so we do need to have the space to be able to clean year round.
Yeah.
So having that would be a game changer pretty much.
How much of like DIY, like carpentry or plumbing or electrical skills did this space need from you?
Some, not a lot, and we did contract stuff out where we could afford it and it was appropriate. So in terms of outside out here, none. There's like I said, there's no drainage. We have the hose reaches from the house, reaches everywhere out here. The walk-in cooler we did build ourselves.
Okay.
And then we did have our the faucet for the well water was inside the house, which we had to run through a door that had to stay open. So I had my father-in-law put the faucet, the frost-free faucet outside.
Awesome.
And then we had a really great guy who does walk-in coolers. So he was able to install all of the cold storage compressors and all that sort of stuff. And then we had the guy we bought our box truck from was an electrician. And so we hired his services to do the wiring, to switch around the lights inside the cooler, and to hook up the compressors. Which again, like, it was all in all probably couple $1,000, most of which went to the cooler guy.
Yep.
It was a few $100s for the electrician, and the father-in-law was free. So the cooler we got a loan from through the FSA at a really nice, like I think 2 or 3% interest rate.
That's awesome.
And a nice like 5 or 6 year payment schedule, and that came out to I think about $13,000 to $15,000 for parts. And then $5,000 or $6,000 for labor, probably total.
Okay.
So under $20,000 for the walk-in.
Yeah.
Which all in all, when we go look at it, it's worth it considering how big it is.
Yeah. Can you walk me through what this space is and how you use it?
Sure. So this is like the back side of the cooler. Outside is where the dirty stuff either gets stored or freshly cleaned stuff comes in and then comes out the backside of the cooler to get processed for wholesale or packed for market or generally organized and stored, and then also stuff that's not going in super cold storage. Those warmer fruit crops also get stored in here. The whole space, because this was an orchard, is an apple cooler. This is like a dream come true in terms of like not needing to do anything and we just have it because it stays pretty much like 50 to 60 degrees in here year round.
Yeah, so you do like your organizing after things are clean, like you pack them and stuff for market?
And mostly wholesale, so like stuff's pre-packed in the wash house for market usually. But if we're doing big harvests, which every year will be more and more, you'll have a whole tower of kale, and that has to get allocated to different markets and the wholesale and all that sort of stuff. So that's when we would take it out of the cooler, bring it in here. It's not cold, but it's cool. So we're more comfortable, but the produce also isn't really taking a hit from it. And then we'll do the organization out here and then put it back into the cooler until it's ready to go out to its final destination.
So I know water usage is like a big thing for you. Are there any solutions that you've kind of come up with for that?
Well, the previous owners of the place also knew that it was a problem. So we again inherited, like we were very lucky to inherit the water tanks behind you, which so that's like the well will fill those first because there's only like 100 or there's like 200 gallons of water like in the well itself.
Oh, wow.
Before it hits
Yeah.
sand. So that I think each of those tanks holds like 500.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like, there's backup water for us to use, but it's very much like at the forefront of our minds of like how we're using our water because it's a limited resource.
Yeah.
So I was saying before, we have two sources of water. We have a fantastic dug pond up in the woods that's elevated, so it gravity feeds down to the house.
Yeah.
And so not potable, not good for washing crops, but you know, if we have super scuzzy harvest containers, like being able to spray stuff out with that water and then finishing it with well water, or putting sanitizer in well water and doing a final dunk on things saves gallons and gallons of water.
Yeah.
And so certainly, hopefully we'll have money for digging more wells as well, but finite resource.
What is your advice to other farmers who are, you know, coming onto a property and they are faced with having to build their own wash pack station?
If it was one thing, it'd probably be just don't be intimidated. Just like figure out what you have to do and try something out. Because a lot of the times you're not even going to be thinking about it. Like the off season is a great time to like reorganize your wash space. But really stuff's coming in, it's getting washed, it's going out. Like as long as that's happening, like I wouldn't worry about it too much in terms of like, you should be willing to spend money on things that are going to last you down the road.
Yeah.
But you can get by with just the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And be fine, just like we're doing here. I decided to make it a single like production line.
Yeah.
And mostly because that's just how it was laid out for me. But to think about those types of things, like where is your dirty produce or product coming in, and where is it the clean product need to leave?
Yeah.
And kind of seeing, and also what are the humans doing in the middle part of like where things need to go. Because I think that's probably it doesn't matter how big or what you're using, it's mostly like the flow.
Yeah, definitely.
And the general like passive organization of the space.
Yeah.
So that you're not having to do extra work.